Whatever you do, do not buy the Nintendo Switch 2. They're really trying to pull off the biggest scam in video game history. First off, I found out today that they're not even having actual games anymore when you go to the store and buy it. Like, you open the case and it's just a piece of paper with a code, and you use that to type it in to download the digital content. So basically, this is a portable console that relies on physical games, yet there's only downloadable content. That's like having a lawnmower when you live on the beach. You basically aren't able to play any video games if you don't have internet. On top of that, they straight up said that if you make any modifications to the console, they have the ability to just shut it down, break the thing that you bought, you own. And they're already having issues with the magnetic Joy-Cons, like it's not even sticking. I haven't seen you guys fuck up this bad since the Wii U. What a load of scum!
So, guys, Nintendo is covering up the truth about the Switch 2, and here's why. Nintendo does not want you to know just how bad things actually are, and that's a large part of why they are taking away your right to actually sue them. To make matters even more interesting, it's now coming to light that their entire arbitration agreement may be completely illegal and may actually be stripped apart by consumer advocacy groups and safeguard groups. Watch to the end of the video to fully understand why is Nintendo trying to cover up the truth about how the Switch 2 actually works and what that actually means for consumers. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Our Rumble is linked in the description of the video. And if you want to learn how to buy, sell, and trade crypto, you can follow us. You can check out Angry's Crypto Academy, which is also linked in the description of the video. So we have a video from Fritanga, but I lovingly call him Frittata. We all do. And he's going to break down a bit more of it, and then we're going to jump into it further. His channel will be linked in the description of the video, so you go check him out and support him also.
Nintendo has no plans to use game key cards for first-party developed titles. Now, look, this is actually a good thing. Initially, anyway, I thought it was. That's how deceptive Nintendo can be. I fully expected them to ensure that their first-party titles would all be entirely on the game cards. Sony does the exact same thing. Microsoft, on the other hand, not so much.
Leave Xbox me alone, please.
As we all know, Doom the Dark Ages is not entirely on the disc. Only roughly 300 megabytes on disc upon starting the game after installing the stuff. So yeah, Microsoft sold you a $70 game that's not even on the goddamn disc.
Somebody's gotta get stabbed!
And we're talking one of their first party devs. So in that sense, Nintendo is actually not a bad guy.
I'm not a good guy. I'm the guy.
But there is a reason why Nintendo affords themselves this and not other developers. And you'll be surprised to know why. Many were speculating for a bit, why is it that Nintendo is allowing third-party devs to not put games that aren't even 5 gigs total on a game key card? Why do they instead allow devs to opt for digital key cards? You can push any fears about seeing Mario on a game key card aside, as Nintendo has revealed to us that it has no plans to use the new physical format on its first-party developed titles. After more Switch 2 titles began to crop up under the game keycard label, we reached out to Nintendo UK for confirmation about whether we should expect to see the same approach used on Mario, Link, and Samus' future endeavors. Today, we received the following response. We currently have no plans to use game key cards for Nintendo-developed titles. Now, of course, yeah, that is a specific keyword, but knowing Nintendo, they will 100% ensure their game is entirely on the cart. And if you are a collector of first-party games from Nintendo, especially in physical form, then you should be fine. However, when it comes to third-party, when it comes to multi-plat releases, that's where you're screwed. That is where collecting for the Nintendo Switch 2 is pointless. And the reasons for that have all entirely to do with the options Nintendo has afforded developers, specifically third-party publishers. And it's all explained through this leak that I actually missed a few days ago. Rumor, new leak may explain why many Switch 2 physicals are game key cards. Last week, Dextero reported that the Guilty Gear Strive developer Arc System Works has been hacked, leading to a boatload of leaks regarding the studio's upcoming titles and updates. According to leaker and Universo Nintendo editor Necrolip, one piece of info out of the hack suggests that Nintendo is only offering very limited format options for third-party Switch 2 releases, potentially explaining why so many are turning to game keycard options. According to Necrolip's tweet via Google Translate, studios have just 3 options when it comes to launching on Switch 2: a digital-only release, a game keycard, codenamed Potion in the leak apparently, or a 64 gig full game cartridge. If the leak is true and a 64 gig cart really is the only choice to release a full game physically on Switch 2, it makes a lot of sense that developers would opt for the keycard solution over the inflated cost of the higher storage option.
Listen, you cross-ages cheapskate!
You know what? That all makes sense because this is exactly what CD Projekt Red was faced with when they developed The Witcher 3 for the Switch, one of the most unbelievable ports in history. But then again, these guys are porting Cyberpunk to the Switch 2 as well, so they're just wizards at it. As some of you may know, we found out that CD Projekt Red's Witcher 3 Switch port was barely profitable for them because they opted for the most expensive cartridge size, so that gamers had the whole game on the cart. Despite not making much profit, they did it again with Cyberpunk on Switch 2. You see, limiting developers to a 64 gig cart doesn't give developers much wiggle room to make porting their games cheaper. I'm surprised that there isn't a wider range of size carts because it makes sense now. Why exactly Bravely Default 2 is not all entirely on the Switch cart? It is a 12 gig game, but why in God's green earth would Square Enix purchase a stock of 64 gig carts when they're not going to be maximizing the storage capacity on those carts and wasting money? This is why they opt for Nintendo's other option. This is why, instead of going for digital only, they went for a game key card to, you know, give you the feeling that you have a physical edition, but also not have to spend the money on a 64 gig cart, but also not limit it to a digital only release. I mean, honestly, there's no winning here.
So guys, this is a part of the big scam that Nintendo is involved in right now. They don't want you to physically own your games, but they want to create the illusion of ownership. Nintendo's favorite thing to do is to constantly release the same games over and over and over. Nintendo's position is to corner the gaming market and basically leave the consumer with fewer options. Their ultimate goal is to eventually pretty much have every game behind a subscription model where you will no longer even be able to access your games, period. If you look carefully at Nintendo's terms, they can take away your games for basically any reason whatsoever, including even suspicion and correction. So you don't actually have to break any of their rules. They can also terminate your Nintendo account and take away your games for simply suspicion that you may end up doing this. That is so their terms of service are likely illegal. Illegal. You cannot punish someone for simply suspecting that they may do something, okay? And that's where the arbitration agreement comes in as well, where you're forced into arbitration and you cannot question them at all. But even their arbitration agreement is now being found to potentially be illegal as well. In fact, if you read through the terms of their new terms and service update, they actually straight up say if any part of these new terms are found to be illegal, the remainder will remain in effect. That's not something you typically find in a terms of service if any of these terms are found to be illegal. So they're hoping that what they're doing will basically, it's a system of people are not willing to challenge them, and it specifically bars people from participating in any class action lawsuits. And if you do sue them, it would have to be on an individual level. So for example, if you do go through arbitration and you're somehow able to still sue Nintendo, under no situation whatsoever can you be a part of a class action lawsuit against them. Everything has to be on an individual basis so they can isolate you. Nintendo is up to no good. They don't want you to own anything. They want to corner the market and they want to continue reselling you the same garbage forever and eventually put you on a subscription plan similar to Game Pass, but a lot more evil, where you'll basically be paying for the same games forever into perpetuity and they will take them away from you at any time. The whole game key card thing, it looks like it's going to be a massive L for Nintendo because the convenience of owning physical games is literally being able to put a game into the console and the game simply works. You're going to have to pay for expensive storage of these SD micro cards to play your games. And initially, of course, Nintendo is banking on people simply being stupid and not noticing this. Companies are being forced to use these game key cards because Nintendo is literally saying, we're going to punish you financially if you don't use these game key cards that don't actually allow you to physically own the game, but it's basically just a license on a disc where you have to download the entire game to your console, but still use the game key card in there to be authorized to play it. The console in of itself is also nothing that you own anymore. You don't physically own the console. You own a license to use the console. Hence, they can brick your console at any given moment, which also means that you cannot do things like repair the console. So if your Nintendo Switch breaks and you want to fix the battery, you can't do that anymore. You have to reach out to Nintendo, and only Nintendo has the right to repair that console. You can't fix the screen. Oh, you need a new screen. Guess what? You can't do that either. This basically means that the console in and of itself loses value very, very quickly. And they've also changed it so that this now also applies to the original Nintendo Switch as well. So if you purchased the Nintendo Switch almost 10 years ago, they now technically can also brick that console as well. This is the most insane SHIT I've ever seen before. And people have said it for years. Nintendo is an evil effing company. All right. And it's just going as far as it's getting from bad to worse. Not even Apple is willing to do these things. Not even Apple. And here's another thing about Apple. Apple is all about preserving Apple's reputation. So even though Apple is extremely evil, Apple is very quick to apologize, especially under Tim Cook, and at least trying to preserve their reputation. Nintendo does not care. Their method of preserving their reputation, if it comes down to it, is it falsely flagging videos and then basically daring you to do something about it. And even though even though the flag will eventually be removed potentially if you have an attorney or whatever, it still does not matter because Nintendo has now sent you a message that there's nothing you can do to stop them. This is massive. This is absolutely insane. You look at the Pal World situation, they're basically trying to patent game mechanics so that they could control the entire market and decide what games are released versus what games are not. Guys, this is one of the reasons why I keep telling y'all to get invested in cryptocurrency. Now, Jim Cramer is telling everyone to Jim Cramer, Mr. Fast Money. I know many of you probably don't like him, is telling people to go out and buy crypto to protect yourself against a failing dollar. You will own nothing and be happy. Don't listen to the idiots out there who are telling you that crypto is a scam and that crypto, what if the power goes out? If the power goes out, you can't access your money in the bank. Buy gold and silver. I've said this plenty of times. All right. If all hell breaks loose, all right, it only takes a handful of white guys on horseback and ATVs to come and take that from you. It's not a game. But your crypto is safe. It is stored on the blockchain. And as long as you have access to your private keys or your recovery phrase, you can access your crypto from anywhere in the world and you will always have money. And crypto is continuing to go up in value rapidly while cash is continuing to lose value. One of the reasons why you have these people, the boomers who are panicking and going and furious over Trump, is because he is changing the system. The old system is dying and they don't care. They want to hold on to that. All right. I like to call the US dollar and fiat currency in general boomer bucks because they're the ones who have exploited it and brought it to this point. And they use it to continue to steal from us. The way that we survive and thrive, and especially during hard times, is with crypto. And one of the best ways to learn about crypto is by visiting Angry's Crypto Academy. Let me ask you something. When the banks collapse, and trust me, it's coming, will you be ready? Imagine waking up to ATMs that don't work, bank doors chained shut, and millions of people left with nothing. No cash, no access to their savings, and no way to survive. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. That's why I created Angry's Crypto Academy, to teach you everything you need to know about crypto so you can protect yourself and your family. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and even day trade crypto for a living. Plus, we alert you to new crypto trends so you can profit before everyone else even knows what's happening. Right now, I've just published an exclusive investment guide inside the Academy, and it's linked in the description below. In it, I reveal the one coin that could make you a millionaire. A coin so revolutionary, it could change everything. If you missed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is your second chance. This isn't just about financial freedom, it's about survival. When the system collapses and everyone else is selling, you'll be the one buying, prepared to weather the storm and thrive while others struggle to survive. Don't wait. This knowledge isn't optional, it's critical. The link's in the description. Go check it out now.
Are the publishers, because it will cost them virtually nothing to give you a virtual key card, because Nintendo gave them that option. Because there is no option for a 32 gig cart or 24 gig cart, and I can see why, because the manufacturing costs for that would probably be a headache for Nintendo, and they'd rather not deal with it, and they'd rather remove your choice of actually physically owning third-party games on the device. This is why you don't want to buy third-party on the Switch 2. It's a total waste of your time, total waste of your money. This problem is way too big to simply be handled by voicing your opinion. Your opinion won't matter. I mean, trust me, take it from a guy who's been trashing Nintendo for a month. Nothing I say is gonna do a goddamn thing to the brand or change consumer perception. But years from now, when you wanna pop one of those suckers on your shelf back into your Switch 2 and servers are offline, and you find yourself unable to re-download that Switch 2 game because servers are offline, well then you're gonna finally feel the full effect of what Nintendo did there. It's a very difficult situation because I don't really believe developers should be forced to make physical copies of games, but I also do believe it is Nintendo's obligation to ensure their third-party partners have a wide range of options to make development costs efficient and easier for themselves, because when prices are better for third-party games and the incentive is there, more people will buy these. I guess Nintendo don't see it that way though, because again, I guess Nintendo doesn't see it that way though, because we do have a history of Nintendo treating third-party publishers like trash. They've never been good at it. They're still not good at it, and releasing for their platform has always been a pain in the ass. Nintendo's perspective of third-party publishers who make better games than their own first-party studios is, Who cares? Since the Wii, since the Wii U, since the Switch 1, devs have always had to struggle when it comes to porting to Nintendo devices. And here they finally have a tablet that's actually pretty decently capable. I mean, we're talking about a tablet that has an advantage over the other consoles, and that's that it has DLSS and is more than capable enough to run a lot of current gen games. But the drawback to that is that if you buy it physically for the Switch 2, there's a 50-50 chance the game isn't actually on the cart. And yet you're still expected to pay just as much, if not more, for that version over a PS5 or Xbox version, which makes no sense. If the leak is true and a 64 gig cart really is the only choice to release a full game physically on Switch 2, it makes a lot of sense that developers would opt for the key card solution over the inflated cost of the higher storage option. I don't know how much more it costs, but I could imagine that if devs are opting for a keycard solution, then the cost is quite significant. Otherwise, I don't see another reason why they would pull out, unless these devs just don't want you to own their games, which is also very highly possible. For Switch 1, Nintendo offered studios both 8 gigs and 16 gig cart options for physical releases, making a full-on cart release cheaper and easier to stomach amid rising development costs. If these cheaper picks are not available for Switch 2, regardless of how small the game is, then why pay for the extra space? Now, this isn't the first time we've heard talk of 64 gig. Yeah, well, I already told you this story about CD Projekt Red, but looks like the article's diving into it as well, as it's an excellent example to put up. 64 gig carts are costly, it would seem. So costly, it made turning a profit on Witcher 3 on the Switch difficult. For me, this goes against what Nintendo has said in the previous statement that can be read right over here. Switch 2 introduces game key cards, which require users to download the game, and it's raised concerns in general about Nintendo's future physical support. If you are wondering about the company's plans going forward, Nintendo of America's president, Doug Bowser, has reassured everyone that guy. Oh boy. That physical games remain a key part of its business for now. Doug Bowser spoke to IGN about this recently at the new Nintendo San Francisco store, while also touching on the supposed benefit of game key cards for publishing partners. In the immediate future, physical games are still a key part of our business, and we value our relationship in particular with our retailers and want to make sure we have products available for them to sell to their consumers. When you look at game key cards, for us, our goal with Nintendo Switch 2, similar to what we were able to accomplish on Nintendo Switch, is to have the broadest and deepest library of content we possibly can. And that includes our publishing partners, and game key cards are a way that our publishing partners are able to bring more content onto the platform, deeper and larger, more immersive content on the platform.
Guys, this is such a damn scam. This is such a scam that Nintendo is engaging in. And sadly, a lot of people are going to buy this thing, but I suspect that it's not going to be as popular as Nintendo truly believes it will be. It is going to, there's going to be so much backlash. The reason why there is no real update for the Nintendo Switch right now, and the fact that there's not going to be any reviews, because Nintendo is trying to cover it up. They're like, oh, there's going to be a big day one patch, and that's why we're not sending out review units. It's kind of like Nintendo could actually put the software, the patch onto the units that they'd be sending out to reviewers, so that the reviewers could review them. So that's not the issue, no. But there's going to be events prior to the release where reviewers will be able to go hands on with the Switch 2, and and Nintendo will basically tell them certain details. Yeah, they're trying to control the information. They're trying to prevent anyone from actually knowing how the Switch 2 actually works, the security features that are in there, the fact that it's going to constantly check in online. They're doing this deliberately to create misinformation. Nintendo is 100% relying and trying to use misinformation because they know people don't really know what's going on. So one YouTuber says something, another YouTuber says something. Nintendo deliberately does not correct this information, and they allow misinformation to go out there so that people don't actually know the truth about what Nintendo's actually doing until it's too late. They are using misinformation. They're using chaos. All right, they're using chaos to control everyone and to get people to buy this thing without knowing actually how bad things are.
Whatever you do, do not buy the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo tried to sneakily update their user agreement, and that's thousands of pages long because they know that people will not read it. They're trying to trick you into buying something that you truly don't own. And I know a lot of gamers are okay with this. This is becoming an ongoing issue in gaming with the right of physical media versus digital media and the fact that physical media really doesn't even mean anything anymore. But I personally could not buy something for hundreds of dollars, and Nintendo say that if I make any alterations to it, that it might be booted and banned offline. Not just offline, I can't use the system at all, even to play games that I already personally bought. That is scummy, and we all know Nintendo's history. They will enforce that to the fullest extent of the law, into the contract that you sign into. Never, when you're dealing with corporations, say, hey, would it go? Yes, they will.
Now, here's where things get very interesting, guys. Like I said, you need a Nintendo account to even use most of these games. So with these game key cards, for example, you will never be able to play these games. Like, if you don't have a Nintendo account, you can't use these game key cards. You need a Nintendo account to use these game key cards. You can't get patches, nothing. All right. So you are permanently locked out of Nintendo's system. It's crazy. It is absolutely insane, y'all. All right. So, and guys, you literally own absolutely nothing. Even the physical games that do come fully loaded. I mean, without a Nintendo Switch account, you can't use them either. Nintendo will basically just brick any console that you use. Nintendo, guys, this is nothing like this has ever happened before. And other companies are watching this because now it means that, for example, if Nintendo can do this, any company can do this. You purchase a phone, you don't actually own the phone, you own a license to use the phone, and they can they can basically disable the phone, and now you lose your $1,000 purchase. This is real stupidity, guys. Like, this completely goes against every form of consumer protection out there. So Nintendo is actually covering up the fact that these devices are essentially systems that will more or less be online all the time, because especially with these game key cards, you'll always be validating if you actually own the game or not, and you essentially will have you can lose your game at any given moment. You don't own anything. All right. Nintendo doesn't want you repairing the console, because over time, because guys, they basically want to force you to constantly go out, purchase a new console, and to basically let you know that when when the next generation comes around, you are forced to upgrade to whatever slot Nintendo puts out, because your system won't work anymore. If you just need a brand new battery, oh, too bad, you can't update it. Oh, but Nintendo offers an upgrade program. You're just going to have to wait. Guys, this is crazy. You can't fix the battery, you can't fix the screen. Nintendo, you can't disable the microphone on it where that Nintendo is using to listen in on you. I've already condemned any of you who buy this garbage for your kids. I'm telling you honestly, like, I'm really rethinking picking it up, because I wanted to pick it up, review it for you guys, have a hands-on myself. But now it's like, am I really going to put $1,000 on this thing? Because it's about $800 for the Switch 2 with a controller and a memory card, and not even a large memory card, a small memory card, because you have to use this micro SD Express cards now, which are extremely expensive and hard to come by. Right? And $80, like, what the hell? Like, this is just absolute BS. And then to make matters worse, like, if you don't have a Nintendo account, I have a large collection of Nintendo games. I have over 70 Nintendo games, but they could basically take them all away. Like, that's what Nintendo has made it very clear. Like, those games just won't work anymore. Those games just won't work anymore. They'll just stop working. Like, guys, this is Nintendo's ultimate plan for you to own absolutely nothing, and you're unable to actually stand up to them. And you're not able to band together under a class action lawsuit, which, again, in and of itself may be completely illegal and go against consumer protection. Nintendo is the most evil company on earth. More evil than Disney, more evil than Apple, more evil than I can't say another company because that's where we are broadcasting, but you get the idea. Okay? They are they are the most evil company on the face of the earth, and they are trying to basically take over the world. It sounds insane, but it absolutely is not. This is frightening stuff, y'all. That's what do you guys think regarding everything we discussed here today? Do you guys agree that Nintendo's ultimate plan is to basically keep on reselling you the same slop over and over for eternity into perpetuity? And, years down the line, you will not be able to re-access any of your games. And they want to basically force you to move to whatever new hardware comes out, which means that, the concept of ownership no longer really exists because your older consoles will just cease to exist. They won't work anymore. Your Nintendo Switch 2 the day will come where it just stops working, and that's it. They're basically killing off consoles. They don't want a situation anymore where you purchase, let's say, like the original NES, and people are still using the NES 40 years later. They don't want that to ever happen again. They want to make sure that 10 years from now, the Nintendo Switch 2 won't work anymore. 20 years from now, it won't work anymore. You guys think this is BS? It's not. Okay? This is all about the future and ensuring that you can never own anything ever again. You don't own the hardware, you don't own the games, you own nothing, and you will gradually be ushered into paying for a subscription on top of full price for these games just to access them, the same game over and over and over again forever. While Nintendo listens in on you and watches you in your home and your children, surveils you. This is sick. And there are sickos in the comments saying that companies have always been doing this. No, they have not. Not to this level of extremism, because they would be sued into eternity. And yet Nintendo feels comfortable doing this because they have so many attorneys. They have such a large legal, they have so many lawyers, and they have the Nintendo ninjas that they believe that they can do whatever they want and get away with it. And they are going to basically, they have all of this money that their system is basically where, even if what they're doing is illegal, their lawyers know how to use the system to the point where they'll wear you out. They'll destroy you financially. And they'll cover it up. These guys, this is not just the level of antitrust. This is on the level of a giant criminal organization dedicated to stifling innovation and controlling a market and the consumer, because like what they're doing, like the things that they're doing in the US with like bricking the console, they can't do that in the UK, they can't do that in the EU, or the EU would eat them alive. They're only doing this to us in the United States and the United Kingdom. And even in the United Kingdom, it's not as bad as it is in the United States. They can't do it in other countries, but they're doing it in the United States because our laws, because they basically are trying to circumvent our laws. That's how bad. That's how it's really bad, when they know they can't do it in the Europe, but they can do it in America. Let me know, you guys, if you agree. This is all about ensuring that you will not be able to play your consoles in the future. You will not have access to your games in the future. It's about control. It's about surveilling you. It's about a company that does not like you and wants to take every nickel and dime that you have out of you. Let me know. Most of you don't understand that when they survey who are the primary group of people that play Nintendo consoles, it's not children. Most tweens and Gen Zers, they're actually playing Call of Duty. All right, they're playing PC and they're playing Call of Duty and Fortnite. All right. That's what they're playing. They're not playing the Nintendo Switch. Most of the people who are playing the Nintendo Switch are in their 30s and 40s. It's horrible. Let me know if you agree with what we've discussed here today and how you plan to go about it. Let me know if you still plan to pick up a Nintendo Switch, or if you're or any other Switch 2 or any other console, or if you're going to just give up on gaming entirely, focus on playing your back catalog of games, or join the master race and come over to the side of, I wouldn't call it the dark side. It's the side of light. Nintendo is the dark side. Come over to the side of light and join the PC master race, because I love PC, and you guys just don't know how incredible it is over here. But let me hear your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.